in essence, what I'm trying to say is that most of us, we are poor because we do not understand some things that make people rich. We confuse some things to the real things. And in our minds, we think that we are doing great stuff. We are not. Think, for example, if I ask people here, maybe before now, not people that are inside here, you know, the other people that are not here. If I ask them, what would you rather choose? Shooting every weekend and not shooting every weekend? Most people would go to shooting every weekend because most of the time we mistake busy for profit. Because you're busy does not necessarily mean that you are profitable. Does that make sense? Because revenue is coming. Revenue is not the same thing as profit. Because you're seeing the other person or a photographer that you know, or you guys grew up together, and now the person now has scaled the business, handles like 5 teams, like hires like 5 photographers, videographers, editors. The question you should be asking is, how profitable is all of that? Because the team building, no matter how feel good it is, because for me it's feel good, it's not necessarily profit. I can do one job, 1 month, and a wedding photographer can photograph for every weekend for 3 months. She will not still make the same money I make for 1 day.
Pause. So, sorry for disturbing your YouTube video that you were watching, but I have to tell you this. If you're a photographer, you're a creative business person, a filmmaker, whatever you're doing, but you're struggling to make money, I have something for you. If you send me a DM, we could book a session and we can change that thing for you. We have results that we have done and given to people all over the world, not just in Nigeria alone, in the UK, in the US, in Canada. It doesn't really matter. Business principles do not respect geographical boundaries. What we know is that once you apply the strategy, it will work. So there's a link under this video. Click on that link, book a session, and let's fix your creative business. You can now go back to the video and enjoy the rest of it.
Let me tell you where this comes from. You know, we grow up in a place where we glorify hard work, which is not a bad thing. So if something comes easy, there is a certain way we look at it, like that person. Are you sure? Like, are you really sure? So we believe that if you do not suffer, you do not deserve a certain thing. So as kids, we have been indoctrinated into that way of life, that we must always, at all points, struggle so that at the end we now justify our struggle. We carry it to secondary school. We carry it to university. You know too well that you going to your night class, that you're not going to read. You know. I know. All of us sitting here, we know. Then why do people still go for night class? Is it true? I know. Me. I know. But I will have to go so that I will justify to myself and signal the next person that I'm what? I'm hardworking. But hard work. I'm not trying to say that hard work is not good. Okay, let me rephrase. Hard work I'm referring to that is good is your ability to be consistent at doing the things that will produce result. Hard work that I'm against is you trying to signal the other people and to yourself that, oh, I am doing all of this. So instead of, let's say let's say for example, you're trying to learn how to light. Instead of you learning what is highlights, what is whites, what is highlights, what is midtones, what is shadows, and what is blacks. Which is, when we talk about lighting in photography, those are the 5 things. So instead of you sitting back and learning how those 5 things I mentioned work, you don't do that. You set up a shoot, invite makeup artists, get models, you shoot, picture no come out well, you say you do another one, Abby. Announce on your story, we are doing another shoot too, you're still shooting. It's not working, but you're not learning. You keep on just being busy. So that people will see that, oh, so if I ask you, have you done personal project? You say, Mayor, I have done. It's not working. I've done like shoots. That's the busy part and the hard work part that I'm saying that I'm against. You should work hard on the things that you can measure the increase and the success. Those other ones are just for you to feel good, and I do not like it. Does that make sense? So we are here today for us to look at the things that will help you build your business for profit. And the very first thing is audit. That is the very first thing that you need to learn. You need to learn how to audit your business. And I will explain what I mean by the audit. You know, most times as photographers, what happens is that we are not just one thing most of the time. We are different things depending on who is trying to hire us. What I mean is that you can see somebody say, I'm a studio photographer, but they do portraiture, they do birthday shoots, right? And inside there, they could do events, right? And somehow, if someone you know or a former client say, oh, can you shoot my child's birthday? You are there too, right? But in your mind, the real thing that you're passionate about could maybe beauty photography. It could be fashion photography. So you add that to all of this. Does that make sense? Who here doesn't do one thing? Let's use someone as an example. So what do you do?
What do I do?
You say you don't do one thing. So what?
I do almost everything except child photography.
So mention them.
Portraits, fashion, I don't do beauty, events.
So portrait, fashion, events, everything except child photography. Can you see that? So in his mind, so I'm not going to. So what you're doing is, because you're doing all of that, sometimes a lot of revenue come in, right? So you can't really say that you're not making money. So because you're doing everything, you are confusing the money that comes in to mean that you're profitable or you are getting money. But what this audit will do for you, and in real business, what we do is to think about, if I have several products in my line, let's say I'm Dangote, for example, and I have sugar, right? I have salt, I have cement. What else? Okay, petroleum now. So I have 4 things. Together, those 4 things are bringing me money. So I'm good. But if I really want to be a good business person, of course, like they do, what they need to do is for them to write down and enumerate those things that are inside the business. Because one thing you need to understand is that it is not all of the things in the business that are bringing the money. We don't think about it. It is not all the things in the business that is bringing the money. For example, it is not all of it, like the fashion, the studio, the birthdays, that is bringing you all the money. There is a particular thing that is bringing 70% of that revenue. Does that make sense? So, this is where the rational brain and the emotional brain kicks in. Your emotional brain will not allow you to do the audit. Because somehow, it will expose that the thing that you love is not making you money. Does that feel good? Which one do you love most if you were to choose?
Concert photography.
He said he would choose concert photography. How much do you make from concert photography?
I don't do it anymore.
Do you see? So, there are things that you love, but because you've not done the audit and the revenue is coming, you are not aware that that thing that you really love is not making you money. Because money is coming in now, so you're not broke. It's good. But what the audit does for you, which now silences your emotional brain and kicks in your rational brain, says, okay, I have portrait, I have fashion, I have events, I have this. Let me go back to my books. How many fashion did I book this month? Okay, let's not use a month. Let's use like in a year span, right? Because so that we have a lot of numbers and data around. In 1 year, how many people booked me for birthdays? How many people booked me for events? How many people booked me for birthdays? How many people booked me for fashion? How many people booked me? That's one part, the booking, the numbers. How much does those things cost? Because, let's say, for example, let me use the red. Your portrait costs like 150K, right? And your studio costs like 50K, right? And you have this one 5. 5 times 150 is how much? 750K, right? You have this one 10. How much is that? 500K. So in your mind, because you booked 10, remember I said, do the bookings first. Then now think about the numbers. If you stopped at here, you didn't see this side, the amount, you would say, okay, I booked portrait more, 10. I should continue booking portrait. But the question is, which one is making you the most revenue? But we don't stop there, because we are not about generating revenue. We are about doing what? Making profit. So the next step is, what is the cost? Because for everything that you do, there is a cost. I know that most of the time, good morning, as photographers, because we bought the camera, we bought the lenses, the lights, we do not think that that comes into the cost of what we do. By lift of hand, how many of us, when people hire us, pay ourselves the rental fees for our gear? This one does it because he's my guy, yeah. Another person does it here. Do you know we don't do it often? We think that the camera is my own, right? The lens is mine. In fact, I'm the one retouching. That is not included in the what? Who said? That's why once you do your maths, you realize that there is a certain amount that you're charging that you're not supposed to be charging. Because you're generating revenue doesn't mean you're making profit. For example, how much, let's say they rent a camera for 30,000. Should we be normal and just say 20, right? So 20 with lens. Let's just say, come on, give them some room. 20 with the lens. That's 20,000 naira, right? Let's say they retouch for 2,500 per picture. And let's say the person wants 5. So 25 by 5, that's 7,500 plus 20, that's 27,500, right? Are you going to the person or the person coming to you? If you're going to the person, let's put another 10K. These are minimal. That now becomes 37,500. And you and 50,000 naira was the amount that you charged them. So how much is left? 12,500 naira. And you've not taken out internet, Wi-Fi, yeah. You guys know how MTN is doing right now, right? So, but at the end of the day, for that 50K, we are actually looking at the minimal numbers, not like the normal rates. If we use the normal rates, this 50K, you don't make any profit. It's out. So once you do this, you write the cost. This will be the cost of this. If you're making photo books, what's the cost of it? If you're designing it, I don't care whether you're the one designing it, because you're building something that tomorrow might not be you doing it. So there should be a charge for it. You add the cost. Once you do that, you now take out the costs from the revenue that you generated. Then you now know how much profit. Does that make sense? But we move a step further because this is business. So there's something called profit margins. So the margins are about percentages, right? Who didn't used to like mathematics in school? Who was like me that used to like mathematics? But you passed. That's it. Anything I don't like, I pass more than the things I like. Because I'll take my time and say, this is it. But those other ones that I think that I know, whatever, I'll be fine. So this maths that I'm going to teach is not too hard, though. No too vex, right? We know from the very beginning that we are talking, what? Revenue, right? Minus cost, right? That's the first one. But we want to know the margin so that you know what kind of margin are you making. Is it a 0.5? Is it a 1.5? Is it a 2.0? So you can actually be knowing what are my margins in this business. So that at the end of the day, when you're trying to put in the numbers and now see, okay, maybe I made, like for this one, this portraiture, I booked 10. But at the end of the day, I made 500K, but the cost of it now became like, we did 30-something, right? So the cost now becomes like 375, thereabout. So we are now left with about 150,000 naira as profit. But with the 150K that we booked 5, and we had 750K, maybe somehow we still ended up with the 375. You now realize that the profit here is not the same as the profit here. This profit here now becomes, because 700, 350 out, we like 450 left, thereabout. 350 left, 400, thereabout, left here, right? And then when you now look at the profit of this one and the profit of this one, it's not the same thing. Which now brings us to the next one, which is everything that you do. You know we have 100% in things, right? Make sure that you put 70% into the thing that generates the most profit. I say it again. Everything that you do, make sure that you put in 70% of your time, of your resources, of your money, of your content creation, of your marketing, of your sales, of your Instagram ads into what? The thing that gives you the most profit. For every 5 to 10 people that you meet to talk about what you do, make sure, if you meet 10 people, make sure that you tell 7 of those people about that thing that makes you the most money first. In fact, you don't mention the other things. That's how I want you to think about it. So figure out which of these things makes me the most money. And then if you meet 10 people, 7 of those 10, tell them about that thing. Don't even mention that you do any other thing. Because at the end of the day, you want to drive more leads to that one thing that generates more profit. So that you won't be busy and not be profitable.